So thanks for coming. Thanks for choosing our session. I hope you don't get bored. I hope you will enjoy. So we try to make it like pretty easy to understand and funny. So that will be some interaction also with you guys. So today we're talking about mobile telephony threats, particular focus in Asia. And this is a joint work with two colleagues of mine, Lion. He works with me in Micro. And the Dr. Payas, that he now joined as a pin drop. He's a startup in the US focusing on telephony threats. And we have also two professors, one from Singapore and another one from Georgia Tech in Atlanta, that help us with this research. So I'm pretty happy to be here. This is just like a commemorative slide for myself. I talk at Black Hat 9 times, so over 7 years, so a kind of anniversary for me. So I will be happy to offer you a beer, guys, if you show up tonight at the bar. We can have a small party about this. So thanks again for coming. So this is, we're going to switch between each other here. So there will be 3 of us talking on stage. So sometimes it's not easy to have 3 people talking at the same time. So we'll try to get the best out of it. So Payas will start the show here. So I give a pointer to him.
Thanks, Marco. So he was saying that it's the 9th for his, and before the talk, he was saying, okay, 10th will be his last, and every time he wants to talk, he'll recommend me to talk at Black Hat. So let me start by talking about the telephony threats in general. Just in 2016, 30 billion calls have been made, 30 billion robocalls have been made in just United States alone. I repeat, 30 billion, starts with a B and not M. So you can imagine the kind of spam and fraud happening in the United States. And why is it happening? And why people are falling for it. And the biggest reason is that the threats which used to happen on the cyber channel has taken a biggest paradigm shift and is now happening on the telephony channel. People used to trust telephony a lot. And scams are increasing, telephony spam is increasing, and we'll start the presentation by giving an example of the kind of scam or kind of spam happening on the telephony channel. So in this case, so it's actually, I've spoken to a Facebook scammer when I have a problem in Facebook. So I was pretending as a victim. I called Facebook fake call center. And how did I looked for, okay, is there a Facebook call center? I found a number, I called the number. When I called the number, the guy sitting behind the desk, he answered. I could literally feel, he actually pretended to be in the United States, but I could literally feel he was Indian and calling from India. Anyways, we went along. And then what happened was, I asked, okay, I have a problem, can you solve it? He said, okay, I can. And this is what happened.
So, can I have your name?
Yes, do you have any store nearby your place, like a Walmart or Staples, any kind of a Target, normal store?
I have an Amazon store.
Okay, what you need to do, you need to walk up over there because the authorization of your account has been deactivated. You need to activate that authorization once again. Just walk up over there and tell them to provide you an iTunes card. Okay?
Okay.
And on the backside of that iTunes card, there would be a 16-digit security code. And you need to call us back on the same number and provide me that 16-digit security code so that I can activate that.
So now you can see that it was just a password reset request for my Facebook account. He didn't even ask me the username of my account and asked me, is there a store nearby like Amazon or Walmart? Go to the store and purchase a $50 iTunes card, and there's a secret code behind it. Give me back that secret code. I was like, wow, really? This is the way of, doing a scam? But anyways, this is one such story of a lot of examples we'll be talking about in this presentation. How I actually started this research. Back in 2013, I was in Middle East. I was based in Dubai. And there was a scam, which is a very famous scam, Etisalat telephony scam. What Etisalat is the Syntel of UAE, consider that. It's the largest telecom in Middle East. And I got a call from the Etisalat telephony call center claiming that I have won 100,000 million dirhams. Fine. Okay, I didn't believe it. I knew that it was scam. And I confronted him, is this a scam? Because I'm certainly sure that this is a scam. He said, no, I can prove this is legit. And believe me, for like in the next 2 minutes, I literally feel that this is really legit. What happened was, he said, okay, you can hang up the call, take out your SIM card, read the first 8 digit, and it should be these first 8 digit of your SIM card. I was like, no, this cannot be true, because how can he know my first 8 digit of the SIM card? I hang up the call, I took the SIM card out, and exactly the first 8 digits of the SIM card were what he told me. And I was like, okay, this is something interesting. I called back the number, the guy picked up, and he's like, okay, now you are sure that this is not a scam, so let me transfer this call to the manager. And he asked me, okay, go to a Dubai bank in Dubai and put a deposit in the account, and we'll transfer all this money in that account. I was like, this is fraud. But the question kept bugging me, how can he know the first digit of my SIM card? Apparently, all the SIM cards of Etisalat have the same first 8 digit. So you can see the social engineering. I did my PhD. I was a postdoc, but for a few minutes I fell for it. So you can imagine our grandpas, our grandmas who are not very tech savvy, what used to happen for them. Wangiri fraud, it started in Japan. It's basically a one-ring fraud. You get a call, it only rings for one ring, basically 1 second. And you see, okay, hey, there is a missed call, so you usually tend to call the number back. When you call the number back, it actually connects, and you see that it's a local number, but it's not a local number, it's a premium number. So rather than paying a local rate, you end up paying a very high amount. And the attacker actually controls these numbers. So it's called a premium fraud services. You can check online, you will find many of these numbers from different countries. It started in Japan, but it actually moved to UK, US, and it's a global threat. Fake officials fraud, people from China mimicking that, okay, they are officials, they call people in Hong Kong, and people lost a lot of money in millions. The question is why this is happening. As I started, it's basically the lack of users' awareness. People are not aware. And the second most important thing is that telephony used to be a trusted channel. People never expected that there will be a fraud happening on the telephony platform. So another thing why this is happening is phone numbers are limited. If you see email address, you can create a random email address and it's a valid email address. But phone numbers are limited. For example, in Singapore, it's an 8-digit maximum. You can have 8 digit. So 10⁻⁹, and I can do a robocall campaign in just 1 day and exhaust the entire range of Singapore. It will ring all the phone numbers in Singapore in just 1 day. So there are ways to actually understand this problem, how big the problem is. And I believe as a scientist, as a researcher, that data-driven approach is the best way to understand a particular problem. So how do you get the data? Okay, you can go to Syntel or StarHub and ask for the data. No way they're going to give you the data because of privacy issues. So either you work with them or with the company. Or you can actually go for some proprietary companies like Pindrop. Pindrop has customers, but we also won't give you the data. So as an outsider who wants to do some research in this area, you only are left with one option, is that create your own data or go online, find some open source data. For example, there's a website called 800 Notes. It's a very popular website where you go to the website, take the phone number, and can write a complaint if you have received a call from that phone number. So you can scrape the whole website, build your own data set, and understand what's going on, what the recent scams are, and everything. Similarly, FTC. FTC is the Federal Trade Commission, which actually deals with consumer complaints. It's again US based, and they also provide the data. on the complaints made by US customers. Now, there are problems with these complaints, online complaints, because these are actually done by normal users like you and me. So the first problem is there are no actual timestamps. So if you notice that the user mentioned they have called me 8 times in 2 hours. Now, if I really want to build a solution, I need actual timestamps so that I can do frequency analysis and a lot of stuff. It doesn't work that way that, okay, I got 8 calls in 2 hours. No, I really need some actual data. Another problem is perception versus reality. It's a very basic problem in our day-to-day life that, okay, I received a call, but now the attacker is mimicking AT&T. AT&T is again a telco in US. So you can imagine, for me, AT&T is calling, but no, someone is mimicking AT&T is calling. So I don't know whether to say it's AT&T calling or someone else calling. So see, there's a perception versus reality problem. Another problem is delay. Delay in reporting. People are lazy by nature. We all know that. We are frustrated when we get a call, but no one wants to take an effort and go online and report or file a complaint. So in this example, he got a call on March 26th, but as you can see above, he reported on March 29th, 3 days later. So if you want to build a real-time solution of something, we need real-time data. And that's what lead us to this whole research, and we actually talk about the solution. And the solution we propose is a telephony honeypot. I started this research by creating a phonypot. In this, we talk about Mobile-Pot, a mobile honeypot, where the idea is very simple. You have a honeypot, you have a bunch of phone numbers, any call coming into these phone numbers, you play with them. So let's talk about, if you actually want to deploy a telephone honeypot, how you want to do it. So naively speaking, so I believe you guys have used IP phones, right? So in IP phone, what happens is it has a phone number. The phone number is a real phone number. It also has an IP address. So any call coming in from outside to, let's say, X company, it goes to X company. X company says, okay, it belongs to my range. And then I have a sort of a table, is a mapping between the IP address and the phone number. I see, okay, this phone number belongs to this IP address. So a call coming in to that phone number is transferred to that IP address, and that's how it reaches the phone. Now I can replace the phone and put a server. And rather than one phone number assigned to it, I can add 1,000 phone numbers. So any call coming into that, in any of those 1,000 phone numbers, goes to that particular IP address. It's a very simple, there are a lot of complications and everything. You have to deal with the audio and headers and everything, but that's a very basic understanding of a telephone honeypot. But this is about the landlines. What about the mobile phone numbers, which actually is the very focus of this talk, mobile honeypot. So you can do the same thing. You take the SIM gateway. SIM gateway has some slots of SIM cards. So rather than you have a phone, you actually have a gateway which has multiple SIM card slots. So you take this SIM gateway and insert all these SIM cards, and any call coming into those SIM cards, you direct towards your honeypot. Now, there exist multiple various solutions which we can use, open source solutions like Asterisk server, which we can use to create a honeypot, and that's what we did in here. So before actually I transfer to Lion, I want to emphasize what we did actually with the honeypot. We created a mobile honeypot, and then we have some phone numbers. We seeded these phone numbers at various places, because you won't receive a call until a criminal knows about it. So Lion going to talk more on this, how and what's the implementation of the Mobile-Pot was.
Thanks, Payas. And I very like to to share some key features of the Mobile-Pod. As you can see the slide, we have a very nice web portal for the Mobile-Pod. In this web portal, you can see that we collect the every call's very detailed information, like the call date and the caller ID. The caller ID is the caller number of the every incoming call. You can find the caller numbers in this column. Another very great feature is that we can also play every call recordings in this web portal. So we just open the web portal and listen every call recordings and figure out what's going on in this call, and whether it's an attack or whether it's just a spam and or other type of calls. And Mobile-Pod web portal also give us other very important information. Here is that they also provide us the destination number. Destination is our Mobile-Pod number. So we know that from this column, from this data, we know that which Mobile-Pod is hit a lot by the attackers, and which kind of a specific attack is specific to certain numbers. And another interesting data is that the duration of the call is also provided. As Payas just introduced, there's a one-ring call attack, very popular in Japan. Actually, it's also very popular in China also. And we can find the duration. We can find the one-ring call very easily in the Mobile-Pod. We just need to check the every call's duration. Like here, in the first row, you can see that this call has a duration of 1 second. So this is very possible that it is a one-ring call attack. So this data is very useful and very convenient for us to find out the one-ring call attack. And as Payas introduced, our Mobile-Pod can recording the every call. I'd like to share you one example of the recording.
你好，好，
您
你好，
是顺丰快运。
我听不清。
快件，经投
现在好多了。
收，今天是最后一次语音时，请帮您咨询人工座机。
我听得不太清。
It's okay.
现在好多了。
First, the man sound is me. I recorded this sound as an engagement recording. Every incoming call reach our Mobile-Pod. Our Mobile-Pod just playing this engagement recording. The purpose of this engagement recording is to let the caller talk about more details of their purpose. So I made a record myself. And in this recording, there's a lady, and this lady claimed she's from a carrier company. She notified me that I have a very important parcel, and I need to contact them immediately because this parcel has some problem. And if I press the number 0, my call will be transferred to an operator. They will proceed the details manually. And this is a very typical trick in our scam recordings. And the interesting thing is that I heard that in Singapore last year, there also such a very similar attack happened here. It is called the DHL parcel scam, and it caused a lot of damage. And finally, the Singapore police force arrested a criminal for such kind of attack. And yes, our Mobile-Pod can also record the SMS messages. As you can see, that our Mobile-Pod can save the whole content of the short messages properly. And here's a very typical example. In this example, the scammers asked me to transfer money to a given bank account, and the scammer also said he contacted me before, and this is a follow-up message, and let me do the instruction. It is very interesting that we checked our call recording, and we found this guy called us before, and so we figured out that some scammers they implement the attacks by combining the calls and the messages together. So for this kind of attack, we call it a two-step attacks. Later, Marco will introduce the two-step attacks details for you. This slide shows our Mobile-Pod deployment. This map shows that our Mobile-Pod deployed in 8 major cities of China. The reason we chose China to deploy the Mobile-Pod is that China has suffering very serious telephony scam in the past years, and it caused very huge losses. So we think that if we deploy to there, we will have a much more better data for analysis. Actually, we had found a lot very high quality attacks in China. And another advantage for this deployment is that we also can find the specific attacks to specific regions, because our Mobile-Pod are distributed to different cities. So I will hand the stage to Marco to let Marco introduce another very interesting part about Mobile-Pod phone number seeding.
Okay, thanks, Lyle. So we are pretty much half of talk here. So we have like 23 minutes gone. So we are pretty much half. Now come more the juicy part of the talk, where we're going to show you actually what we found, right, with this honeypot. Before that, I just want to spend 2 slides about one of the challenges we had, which was to basically make our numbers appealing to fraudster. What does it mean? It means like if you have a standard like TCP/IP like honeypot, maybe publicly exposed to the internet, you just put your honeypot there, and you have like services like Shodan, that scan for the whole IPv4 address space. So at a certain point, somebody can easily figure out that there is, a buggy service like reachable over the internet or publicly exposed, and so basically they contact you immediately. Here it's something different. So you need to actively basically advertise your numbers, and there are different ways of doing it. So we identify 3 macro ways of doing it. First is by advertising the SIM cards over social networking sites. The second one is to run mobile malware application that basically leak these numbers to command and control servers and to cyber criminals. And the third one is to contact like messages, numbers that are already known to be possibly malicious. So let's start with the first one, which is like simulating social networking leaks. So what's the issue? What's the point here? The point is that Basically, there are a lot of users that involuntarily they undisclose their telephone number over social networking sites. Like LinkedIn, for example. How many of you, put your, telephone number of LinkedIn? That's okay with that. The problem, as Payas was mentioning, that a lot of cybercriminal and fraudsters in general, they collect number from networking sites. And then what we do, they reach back to you, maybe on your corporate number, and then from there they do some lateral movement inside the organization to target somebody else. So we want to simulate actually users that were leaking their number on social networking site. So we did the leakage on sites that are this site you see there, they are all Chinese. So they are Twitter-like version. One of these is a blog post. I mean, you know better than me, but one of these is a blog post, is a blogging site similar to Google. The other one is something similar to Twitter, and that one in the middle, Youku, should be a kind of clone for YouTube. So we put our telephone number there, and that's one thing we did. The second things we did, we ran mobile, as I said, we ran mobile malware that leaked our honey cards that we voluntarily put into the contact list of a mobile phone. So in this scenario, basically we simulate what happened, to a user that installed, for example, an application, like on his mobile, ran the application, what it does, he leaked the number of the contact list. And of course, as I said, in the contact list there are our mobile phone number of our honeypot. So we ran different families. As you can see here, you have the numbers. So about more than 400 samples of mobile malware. And then we used a tool called TaintDroid, which is a tool that does a taint analysis on Android. And it can basically tell you wherever the contact list, which is basically the source, arrive to a sink, which is in that case, for example, a TCP IP connection, and basically leak the number somewhere, like the command and control server. And well, the screenshot is pretty bad, but basically it shows that there was a taint drawing, showing that there was actually a leakage to a command and control server. And finally, what we did, we actively engage with fraudster. So there are websites, as Payas was mentioning at the beginning of the talk, that collect information about number that are possibly associated to scams. So we crawl these websites, and then we engage these numbers with an SMS that was where we tried to social engineer them, saying that we are ready for a payment. And we also call them doing a single call to these numbers. So these are the general results. So I'm going to present you a couple of slides about general results, and then we look into more details of different use cases. So this is the total number of SMS and calls we recorded. So over 7 months, we collect more than 1,000 SMS, and as you can see, how much is it? 80% of them were unsolicited, which means they were either associated to spam or to scam or target attacks and so on and so forth. The same with the calls. So more than half of them were calls that were unsolicited. So this showing that a mobile honeypot really help in studying this threat landscape. So when it comes to social networking, so this was very effective, showing that that's one of the main forms in which cybercriminals collect information on potential victims. So we all know aware that, we are all aware in the 2016 that, or 17 now, that if you disclose your email address, you get spammed, right? That's common sense. But 20 years ago, was not common sense. So we are all putting our email address over the internet, and then we got spammed. So it's the same. So one of the goals of our research is to show that you should protect your telephone numbers. Of course, we are all security experts here, so we know. But my grandma or my girlfriend, she doesn't know, so she might be one of the victims here. So if you see the plot on the right, you have a yellow bar in the middle. That's the date when we seed our numbers. So as soon as we see them, boom, there was a boost of unsolicited SMS. For example, a daily one number from China was spamming us with fake news. So he sent us more than like 200 messages immediately as soon as we advertise our numbers. Same problem with malicious apps. So here we did 4 seedings with different data sets. And every time we seed using one of these data sets, we got like more malicious calls coming in, as you can see graph, more malicious SMS, showing that, again, you should pay attention when you install app, because many of these basically leak numbers. For example, one of these sent us more than 79 messages related to AdWords. So that could be like one of the risks of running these applications. All right, so let's move into more in the trend landscape to try to understand what are the strategies used by fraudsters to conduct their frauds. And then I will give the mic to Payas. He will play some more recordings. I like recordings. So I'm also looking forward to these recordings. So coming to strategies. So the first strategy is to blend with benign traffic. What does it mean? It means that, of course, if a call in the middle of the night, you're not going to answer, right, because you're sleeping, except if you are jet lagged in Singapore, that you are awake in the middle of the night. But normally, you're sleeping, so you don't pick up the phone. Same is if I call you like in the middle, I don't know where you are, lunchtime, lunch break with colleagues. So if you see the plot on the right, that's the volume of calls per hour. So there is really a peak like in the morning, middle of the morning, and middle of the afternoon. So actually they call you while you are using your telephony, for example, for work, right? So they blend, as I said, with legitimate traffic. So it's more difficult than for you also to understand what is benign, what is malicious. While instead, if I would call you, like, as I said, in the evening at midnight, very rare that somebody call you at midnight. So you might already, say, okay, that might be like, somebody tried to scam me. Second technique, they try to conceal, to hide their numbers. So what does it mean? It means like spoofing, basically, right? So similar to UDP, or where it's very easy to spoof UDP package. In a call, it's very easy to spoof your sourcing number. So there are different techniques of doing it. So half of the fraudsters, they use, for example, either SMS gateways that are a publicly available service over the internet. So you just pay to hide behind an SMS gateway. Or use voice over IP services, like Skype or a bunch of others. In this way, basically, it's very difficult then to track where the call comes from. Another technique is to use foreign SIM cards. For example, in Thailand, as well as in other countries, you can easily buy a SIM card without needing to provide an ID. Okay? So basically, you are operating a number without need to prove who you are. Okay, so that's perfect, like, for a criminal. So we did a study in the past about Nigeria scams, and there is a similar problem in Nigeria where you can buy like domains or different assets without like providing like a proof of identity. Then what about a common technique for doing, of course, these attacks is to use social engineering. So social engineering is something that is old like hell. So you might say, okay, this guy is here talking about social engineering. We all know what is it. The problem is that it's not solved. Right, so as I always try to repeat, a human is always the weakest point in chain. So this is where the attackers goes. So you can implement the best technology, right? You give the best firewall or whatever, like technology solution. But then, if you don't have the people that are trained, then they fall like victim of social engineering attack. And so this is often the case with corporate phones. Where instead, if they want to target, for example, the CEO of a company or a high-profile person, instead of target this person directly, they target the secretary or somebody that involuntarily left his number somewhere. They go from there, and then from there, as I said, they do lateral movement to the boss or to the target. On top of that, as Lion was mentioning, often they use what we call multi-step attack. So instead of sending you a message pretending, asking for money, what they do, they first engage you like via telephone call. And then they send you, for example, a second byte where they ask for your instant messages contact via SMS. And then they call you back again asking if you received that message. And then if not, they send you the message again. Then they call you back again another time. And this can last for, days or weeks. So sometimes they really take it very slowly, to try to really engage with you slowly so that you don't get suspicious of what's going on. And usually when it comes like to give information about payment, like payment like PayPal accounts or IBAN or other wire transfer information, they tend of doing it via SMS, so that it's easier for end user to have like the coordinates rather than via phone. So usually they use a call to engage you via social engineering, and then they switch to SMS or to instant messaging, later on an email. So they go from one channel to another. So let's take one example here, what they call the big boss example. So in this example, there is an attacker mimic to be your boss. And what this attacker does, he calls you and he tells you, okay, well, you should come to the office like as soon as possible because we have a problem, and I would like to talk with you personally, like in the office. So basically the victim is already in that state where, oh my God, what's going on? Why the boss want to talk with me? So we start panicking, so it's kind of stress. So what she does, she pick up a car, she starts driving to the work, right, to see what's going on. And while he's driving to work, so the pretended boss, which is actually the attacker, will call her again a second time while she's driving and say, okay, suppose she's called, I don't know, whatever, Lucy. Okay, she goes, hey Lucy, so we have really, sorry, I cannot be in the office, there is something wrong with my plane or whatever. So he invented an excuse. He said, okay, but we have a problem with the payment process of one of our customer, whatever. So you should go to the secretary and perform a payment to this new address. So what the final victim does, he reaches to the office, go to the payment office, and then deliver the payment to the boss. So there is really a way to we track this case in our honeypot. So we really saw that they really try to engage here, for example, while you're driving or while you're doing something. So you're already in the mood of listening the guy on the phone, right? And that's actually something that happened to a friend of mine, where her grandma, she was coming that way. So she had been asked, for example, to go to the bank to withdraw some money because a friend of mine, he had a crash with a car. And while this poor girl, her grandma was going to the bank, they were actually the guy called her on the phone again, instructing her, to bring the money in a place of the cities where he would have get the money out of a grandma. And so there are different cases like that. So here we have some recordings. Payas will share with you. And of course, at the end of the talk, of course, we'll be here. So any question you might have or curiosity, happy to discuss with you guys.
Thanks, Marco. Well, I hate bosses. I mean big bosses, right? So before we actually go into this slide, I would like to get all of your attention and focus on this part, the legal aspect of setting up a honeypot. It's very important because I like telling stories. So let me tell a story. I read online that it is actually not legal in some countries to do a phone recording without telling other party that, okay, I'm recording the call. And that's the reason whenever you make a call to a call center, you always hear this prompt, this call will be recorded and monitored for quality reasons. So it actually solves two purposes, that, okay, I notified you that I'm going to make a recording, and also I actually go away with the legal problems. So if you want to set up a honeypot at your home or on your mobile phone, make sure that you understand the local laws. So now let's take example of what we actually end up after setting up a telephone honeypot, what we end up having the conversation looks like when we talk to an attacker, or what attackers want to say to the actual victim. So this is a very famous example, Google business listing. And honeypots or the attackers are not only targeting users, they are also targeting business. And this is a very clear example of how are they targeting business. So can we play the recording, please?
Hello? Our records show that you have not updated your free Google business listing. Press 1 now to verify and update your Google listing. Press 9 to be removed from the list. Again, press 1 to verify and update your Google listing.
So it's a very simple robocall. Like, if you want, you have a business, and if you want to update your Google business listing on Google, press 1, or if you don't want, press 9. And either of the digit you press or anything you say, you're going to be subscribed to some service. And they are targeting businesses. They are targeting local, small, mom-and-pop shops by registering them to unrecognized or without telling them that, okay, they have unsolicited services. Can you hear me scam? Is there anyone who can explain me like what the scam could be?
People actually on other side force you to say like yes, to record and
Correct. So you get a call, and the call says, okay, something, something, and can you hear me? And then what's the normal response? Yes, I can hear you. So they use this simple yes, and they actually sign up you as an individual to unsolicited services. And at the end of the month, you're going to see a $100 bill in your added to your monthly charge. So we have a recording which we actually end up getting at the honeypot, and listen it carefully that it doesn't, it's a robocall, it's an automated call, and it doesn't feel like that's an automated call.
Hello?
Hi, this is Josh from the customer service department. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. You have been pre-selected to receive a vacation of...
So if you have noticed that after he said, can you hear me okay? It's a robocall. He already made a pause, expecting the other party should say yes. And then he kept on continuing. Honeypot didn't say anything, right? It's a machine. We never said anything, but he assumed, okay, yeah, this guy might have said yes. Okay, now let me promote more services. So these are the simple ways how these people are making money, and it's not very obvious for a normal person to distinguish whether it's a scam or not within first 10 seconds. Let's take an example of tax collection agency scam. In US, it's called a very popular scam, IRS, Internal Revenue System. Basically, they take 30% of your salary every year, IRS. In this scam, what happens is you end up getting a call, and this call is not from the IRS, the tax collection agency, the legit company. It's actually coming from somewhere, some guy in India. He's actually mimicking IRS and threatening you that you have not paid your this year's taxes. And if you don't pay your this year's taxes, FBI will come after you, or you will end up in jail. So they first call you, then they threaten you, and then once you are threatened and once you agreed to pay, they don't actually ask for a credit card, debit card, because they don't want to have a paper, they don't want to have a trail, and they actually ask for something else. So let's see what a call looks like when you get a call like IRS.
Hello?
We have been trying to reach you. This call is officially a final notice from IRS, Internal Revenue Services. The reason of this call is to inform you that IRS is filing lawsuit against you. To get more information about this case file, please call immediately.
So first, IRS will never call you. IRS will never call you. If they want to contact you, they send a postal, like a paper, old copy, mail. They will never contact you via email or telephonic call. That's the first thing. But still, like people like me or my mom or my dad, they won't know, right? They feel intimidated. The second thing, if you have noticed at the start of the call, there's a thing called hello, right? And this is actually from the honeypot. And the reason why there's a hello in the beginning, that robocallers are smart. They won't talk or they won't play their recording unless they listen something back first. So you say hello, and then only they will start. So they are improvising, they're getting smarter and smarter. Now let's take, once you pick up the call and you interact with the agent, what happens?
The arrest warrant will also be issued under your name.
It's a real person.
And a what? Under your name. The arrest warrant will also be issued under your name.
An IRS warrant?
The arrest warrant.
Arrest warrant, sir. Arrest.
Arrest warrant? I got an arrest warrant under my name?
You will be getting it soon because you are running out of the situation right now.
So he's threatening that you will receive an arrest warrant. Okay, people get threatened. People really get intimidated. Now, we agreed to pay. So we actually did this experiment at PinDrop. So we were playing as a victim, and we agreed to pay, okay? We want to see what happens once they get the money. So this happens.
No, we don't accept any of your credit cards, any of your debit cards, any of your bank account information.
No, nothing.
Because you need to pay this amount by the tax pay vouchers, which are available to any of the government stores, federal stores nearby you.
So they don't want your credit card number, they don't want your debit card number, they don't want your bank account number. So they don't want any of the electronic trail. They actually want to go to a store, fill the form, and pay using tax pay vouchers, the physical tax pay vouchers. This is one type. And they actually improvise. And we received another call when we did a study. They actually did the same thing, if you remember, when I was talking about the Facebook scam. One guy actually said, okay, you have to go to the Apple store and get the $150 voucher. So they improvise. It's not, but they don't want credit card, debit card, or account numbers. So see, this is the way they actually deal. So there's a full recording of 50-minute call online, so you can listen to it, laugh. And at the end, when they figure it out, okay, we never paid, they started abusing. And they started abusing in Indian language. And that's how we knew that, okay, the guy is calling from India. Very famous scam, technical support scam. Microsoft tech support scam, Facebook tech support scam. If you search anything online, tech support number, you will see Netflix tech support scam, or whatever service, whatever online service you use, you will see a tech support number for that. And these are all fake. And what happens in the scam is, you get a call from a scammer, and they don't target tech-savvy people or youngsters, or they actually target elderlies, very vulnerable population, or they target a very geographical location, for example, in Florida, where they knew that, okay, a majority of the population in Florida is very old. They call, and they say, hey, sir, you have a problem in your laptop. They don't know whether it's an Apple laptop or Microsoft Windows laptop. They say, you have a problem, you have a Windows laptop, you have a problem in your Windows laptop. It has a lot of malware, Trojans, viruses, blah, blah, blah. So it's okay. And if you don't clean up your computer or your laptop, you will end up in trouble. Microsoft will come after you, or FBI will come after you. So they have the same tactic. They intimidate you. And once you agree, okay, and they say, okay, you pay just me $10 or $29, whatever, small amount, and I can help you in cleaning up your laptop. And how did they do it? Okay, I take control of your laptop using TeamViewer or any of the remote control software. Once you give that, so firstly, you lose your data. They do ask for ransomware. Either we delete your data if you don't pay $200 or whatever. Even after paying, they actually don't leave you after that. And I'll tell you, this is not just losing money. There have been cases where people lost their entire savings. People died. There was a guy in Canada, he actually committed suicide. So it's just not your 200 or 1,000 or 1 month saving, it's basically your life. So these guys don't give a whatever. So let me transfer to Marco, and he'll talk more about the experiments and some of the analysis, remaining analysis of the Mobile-Pot.
Yeah, I guess we are pretty much into 5 minutes, so we're going to close soon. So we already talked about that. So scammers very often use intimidation. So they intimidate you, saying, if you don't pay, you'll go to jail. So we have different versions of this, like, for example, a package in custom hold, or, a contract will be suspended because you have to be paid. So all this flavor, but intimidation is the way to go. And it's very similar to what happened now with ransomware, right? So they tell you, okay, you've been, monitored and you surfed, web pages containing pornographic, content, and your computer, now, has been like blocked because you have such content. You're not allowed to have like pornographic content, so you have to pay, otherwise you go to jail. I don't know. So something similar happened here, right? Very similar way for the criminals to operate. So what I want to discuss in very few minutes here, what we did next, we look into how these campaigns are organized and they operate. So you can see here there is this graph. So we build this graph automatically by clustering messages and calls that are very similar to each other. So if you see, there are big circle and a small one. So the big one are our honeypot numbers. For example, SOC1 is the social networking one. Okay, so the number that we leaked via social network. And the small circle, for example, that where there is a red arrow and 5, means that there are actually, there is a group of 5 different numbers operating that campaign. So it means that criminals often go from a changed number when they send SMS or calls, similar to botmaster running botnet that change the IP address of the command and control server. So they go from one number to the other to avoid easy detection. And that's pretty interesting. It's also interesting to see that, for example, there is an arch sometime between 2 different circles. It means that in that case, there are shared numbers between 2 campaigns. So it means that either the same guy ran more than one campaign using, for example, the same number, or it could be that a group, like a hacking group or criminal group, they basically sub-rent or rent their infrastructure to somebody else, like cybercrime as a service. Something that we saw a lot, like in the cybercrime. Here, it's something similar, no? So they buy, for example, subscription to SMS gateways, and then they sub-rent the infrastructure to somebody else, to some other criminal gang. This is a kind of side discussion, like one of the risks associated, for example, with in China, no? Or in countries where there is a huge demand for mobile phone number. One of the risks is that there are not enough mobile numbers for everybody. So what the telco do, they reuse the same number. So what happens is that you go buy like a new SIM card, you expect that the number is fresh, well, actually it's not. So the number was used previously by somebody else. And so the risk for that, as you can see here, in our honeypot we collect such messages. So this is a message coming from Tencent, which is the company operating QQ, which is similar to ICQ, is an instant messaging platform in China. So we received a message about a password reset. So what happened is that basically one of our honeypot number, it was registered with a QQ account. So somebody made like a request for a password reset, and the system at the back end, he sent the message to us asking for a double-factor authentication. And okay, so what's the risk here? The risk is that since there are a bunch of unterminated numbers out there and numbers that are going to be reused over and over, so also for you guys, for example, if you have online banking, when you change your number, you should change in the online banking portal your telephone number. And that's something that can be that many users they don't do that, and so the risk is actually this one, that the new guy getting your telephone number, he can bypass basically your two-factor authentication. So I would like to conclude with some suggestions for you and for people listening, our recording in the future. So I think a good starting point to defend against these threats is to adopt some reputation, some system for that are reputation based. What does it mean? It means that either we have like a blacklist to identify the suspicious number from benign numbers, or they look into, for example, the content of the SMS, and based on the context, they can tell you, okay, this SMS seems like fraud. Okay, so there are solutions available on the market. So a good starting point is to install, of course, these tools. But that's not enough, as I said in before when I was talking. So we should raise awareness. So I think in the future, more and more people should be aware that they should protect their number, not only for themselves, but also for the organization they work for, right? Because every employee that leaks his number, it can become basically a bridge for the attacker to target somebody else. So you should protect your number. Don't get social engineer, so don't be stupid, and look after your two-factor authentication. So with this, I want to conclude. So any question you might have, we will be here for the next, I don't know how much time we have, 5 minutes.
But yeah, we'll be around. So.
And of course, we'll be around. And of course, as I mentioned at the beginning of the talk, so I would like to share a beer with you guys. So if you are here tonight, or I don't know, just pass by. So thanks a lot for listening, and we are open to questions. I saw somebody raise their hand there. Yes?
So obviously we're doing what we can to combat it. Are you seeing the telecom doing enough to help combat against this going on?
No.
Proactively working towards.
Can you repeat the question?
So the question is like, are telecoms doing enough? Like, being an outsider, we can't do much, but are telecoms doing enough? The simple answer in single word, no. And the reason is, it's a bit complicated first, and the second is, they are actually not losing money. So for them, they don't have incentive to, and they are actually making money. On the other end, they are not losing money, they are making money, because the call goes through the customer. So either the customer loses the money, the victim, or if it goes to a company, they lose the money. But telco makes the money on each and every call. And the other thing is, like, I'm not saying they are not aware of the problem, they are very much aware of the problem, but I've spoken to many big telcos in US. It's very hard for them to persuade as a business case that, okay, until and unless there are regulations enforced by FCC or FTC, which they are pushing hard. So they know the problem, they are pushing hard the telcos that, okay, solve this problem, solve this problem. But they can solve robocalls, but scammers, it's very hard, because you still need the audio signal and everything, and analyze and other stuff.
Yeah, we should probably do it at client side, right?
Yeah.
So honeypot is a really good way of collecting numbers that most
True.
likely are bad, and then you can.
So there are many companies who are using now telephone honeypots, including Pindrop, and for creating blacklists, which you can install on your phone, and they can detect just based on the phone number. It's not the complete solution, and it's not the foolproof solution.
Somebody else? All right. So, yeah. Thanks a lot.
We'll be around, so if you guys want to talk, so we can talk.